Hey there, saltwater angler, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, bringing you the current fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Now let's take a moment and learn who's making this show possible, and then we'll jump into the reports. Sam Rust Seafood, your locally trusted source for premium wholesale seafood, servicing customers from Hampton Roads down through the Outer Banks, Richmond, and surrounding areas, including Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, and Lynchburg, for over 80 years. Committed to the highest standards in the industry, Sam Rust distributes the best of the ocean directly to your restaurant, hotel, or grocery store on time and at a great price. Visit samrust.com to discover how quality, tradition, and sustainability come together. So don't cuss, call Sam Rust. Listen up. AFTCO has a promotional gift for all Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For those cold, wet, or windy days, I especially enjoy my weatherproof fabric barricade jacket, as well as my Helm insulated fishing gloves. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918. You'll get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, y'all, welcome to this week's show, part of the Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network. I'm your host, Luke Barton, and each week we're going to be talking with local charter guides to learn about what's biting in our local waters and try to gain some useful insights from their expertise. We encourage every angler listening to this show to do their part in sustainable fishing practices, helping to keep this amazing fishery we have healthy and thriving for generations to come. While winter in the Lower Chesapeake can make for some tough fishing conditions, there's still plenty of trophies to go out there and target. So, time for the report. Let's jump on in and find out what's been biting. All right, y'all, welcome to this week's show, part of the Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network. I'm your host, Luke Barton, and each week we're going to be talking with local charter guides to learn about what's biting in our local waters and try to gain some useful insights from their expertise. We encourage every angler listening to this show to do their part in sustainable fishing practices, helping to keep this amazing fishery we have healthy and thriving for generations to come. While winter in the Lower Chesapeake can make for some tough fishing conditions, there's still plenty of trophies to go out there and target. So, time for the report. Let's jump on in and find out what's been biting. All right, y'all, welcome to this week's show. I'm going to apologize in advance. My voice is shot. I'm getting over I guess 'tis the season to have a sinus infection, but at any rate, there's not a whole lot of fishing going on. If you saw my Instagram post today, I reposted Fishing for Mortgages, Mike Hosang's comedic relief of Mother Nature just destroying us with wind right now, all up and down the East Coast. So I want to have a conversation with him about a couple of things. So I'd like to welcome back to the show Mike Hosang with Fishing for Mortgages. How are you doing, brother?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Virginia Beach. You know, I'm in my office here in South Virginia Beach talking to you in your office off South Lynnhaven. You've got a much more beautiful backdrop than I do there with the part. What's that? The Lynnhaven River behind you?
No, I forget the name of the creek now. It's something on like Wolf Creek or something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah. Down there off of South Lynnhaven, winds back in there. You were saying you've seen some eagles and some other cool things like that over the years.
We used to actually see the Navy SEALs behind us. They would come through on the small ribs and on their jet skis.
Oh, wow.
But I haven't seen them in, probably a couple years.
Oh, wow. Actually, you and I were both incorrect. It's West Neck Creek of all things.
West Neck Creek. There you go.
Yeah. So that's way back up in there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that Navy SEAL boats could fit in a creek that small, but I guess they got there.
It's deeper than you would think.
Oh, really?
It's deeper. Yeah. And it's also the whole bank from here to who knows where loaded with fiddler crabs.
Oh, well, there's all those sheephead guys.
Fishermen. Yeah. For all you dog and sheephead guys. That's right.
Good to know. But yeah, so a couple of things I want to talk about. So we've talked on recent episodes about your little boat that went out there and got the bluefin on the troll, which was really cool. I want to talk about your next bluefin adventure. Also want to get a real estate market update because some things are shifting, and obviously you're right there in the mix of it with mortgage rates and what's happening there. And then want to talk about your incredible trip to Costa Rica where you guys were diving. So first things first, real estate market update. Where are we right now with rates? What are the economic factors that are changing that, and what can we expect going into the spring and summer of 25?
Yeah, I mean, we used to be able to say with confidence, here's what we can expect. But there's zero confidence level coming out of a single loan officer's mouth right now. It's just the way that the market is. You got looming tariffs, you got, combat back tariffs. It's just it's just so much volatility between, now and probably the last 3 years, really. Predominantly the last full year. There's just been so much volatility that the rates started to creep back up. They came down. They were looking like, okay, here we go. Let's get back into it. And then they shot right back up. So as far as future is concerned, I think once everything settles down and everybody calms down, right now everything is brand new. They're shell shocked with a lot of stuff going on. Definitely not going to get into politics, because then you start alienating half your income, half your clients. So I don't talk politics whatsoever, but I think with the new administration, anytime you have any new administration, no matter what side you're on, there's always going to be some sort of controversy, some sort of excitement, and usually it's overexcitement. But I think once everything calms down, we'll start to see a normal market kind of take place. We'll start to see things level off a little bit, and then rates hopefully start coming down within the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah. I mean, just like we were talking about before we hit the record button, there's several changes in terms of obviously new administration. Then you have changes like, the big, everyone's kind of going back to the office. There's lots of new. We're also still kind of living in a post-COVID world, which is crazy to think about, that the 5-year anniversary of that was just a couple of days ago.
I know.
5 years ago, that's to think we were washing our groceries and unwilling to, shake our friends' hands or sit in separate rooms for Thanksgiving is just, it's mind numbing now. And obviously, I don't say that to be in jest or light. Obviously folks, lost loved ones due to COVID, but it's just really wild to think about how different our society was 5 years ago till today. But like you're saying, new things always beget new feelings and sentiments. But in terms of like where the rates are today, if I'm considering buying a home or looking to buy an investment property, like what should I be thinking about right now in terms of my timing? Is it a good time still? Just deal with refinance later, or
exactly, because so over time, values of your house is going to go up. Even in the crash of 2008-9, values came down a little bit, but they still ended up coming right back up. So if you were able to stay in your house, and you even people that were underwater for a while, where their loan amounts were higher than what the value of their house was, the mortgage payment didn't change. So if you were still able to make your mortgage payment, even though you were underwater, you eventually started treading water, and then eventually you weren't underwater any longer. You got your head above water. And if you're still in that house, well, shoot, your equity's 20-30% higher than it was back then. So over time, you're going to have a homeowner or a home value that's going to increase. So even if you buy now, you're going to have that equity down the road. Then if you refinance, you got a better rate. You eat into that equity a little bit with the refinance costs, but you're still going to have equity down the road. Where if you wait, even if you have a lower payment or a lower interest rate, you'll probably still have a higher payment, because the cost of the house is going to be that much more down the road.
Got it. Yeah. So there's no real magic timing at all to get it just right. The way to do that is, everybody that bought back in 2015, 16 is going, oh yeah, we're so excited we bought then. Well, yeah, because 10 years have passed. So you buy now,
you got 10 years of equity.
Yeah, and in 2035, those that bought in 25 are going to be like, oh man, we're so glad we bought in 25. The only thing I would say as a caveat, and educate me on this, if I'm somebody who's maybe like not 100% sure that I'm going to be rooted in an area for more than 3 to 5 years, do I still buy and just deal with selling in 3 to 5 years, or is renting probably the better option? Like in that kind of a time frame, what's the more economically sound decision, so to speak?
I mean, if it's 3 to 5 years, you're still looking at it as an investment, because if the value goes up, you're still going to get that equity on the sale. And the other thing is, rent is still very expensive, and it's also still difficult to find places to rent.
True.
Yeah, just because the inventory is still low for homes. And so because the low inventory, people that want to buy a house aren't able to buy a house, or are getting outbid by others. The outbidding isn't as magnificent as it was, say, a year and a half, 2 years ago, but it's still low inventory.
Right.
Yeah.
And how, if any, has the changes? There was some change recently with regards to the rules for commissions on real estate agents. in terms of what was like kind of used to be a sure thing or a given now is sort of negotiated. Have you seen that really adjust or change the way these transactions are going in any meaningful way? Or was it a lot of smoke?
Well, I'll say the real estate agents are going to answer that a little bit better than I would. As a loan officer, it doesn't affect us. We've already been affected dramatically by the CFPB because, I work for a company. That company says, okay, we'll negotiate this on your contract when we hire you for how many basis points you're going to earn from basically what my commission is per loan. And that's it. It's cut and dry.
Right.
So like back in the day, I could say, okay, well, if I'm competing against another lender for this interest rate, I'll cut my commission in half and win the deal. But my commission is what it is. So now if I want to win the deal, I have to actually go to my company, my pricing department and say, hey, listen, is the company willing to cut their end for me to get this deal? Because no matter what, it's required that I get paid my specific commission.
Got it.
So as far as that's concerned, doesn't affect me. But for the real estate agents, I really haven't seen. You have to make it more obvious on a contract, and I think that's where it really came into play. Where it wasn't, it was a given on the contracts before for the real estate agents to have that written in, or now it's got to be something that's outright and in the seller's face. Hey, listen, just so you know, we're doing this deal, but the buyer's agent also is requesting that 3% or 2% commission, whatever that commission is.
Right.
So it's a little bit more obvious based on the new guides, but like I said, a real estate agent's going to tell you, how much they were really affected. But I haven't seen too much turbulence come out of that.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, I appreciate the update on the market. It's something that's always top of mind for, many of us, whether we're currently looking to buy a new home, buy an investment property, or get into our first home. So thanks for being that, guy that we can trust who, fishes, but also knows a thing or two about real estate and the market and the mortgage rate. So
yeah, anytime. So like I say, I'm fishing for mortgages, man. I go fishing for fish as much as possible, but I'm always fishing for mortgages.
My apologies for not, starting off by, you and I know each other. We've had you on the show many times. You're a household name to many, but for those who have never heard your name before or heard your voice, just very, very brief background on how long you've been doing mortgages, how to reach you for mortgages, and why the name Fishing for Mortgages.
Yeah, so Michael Hosang, and it's funny too because I'll meet people that follow me on Instagram but don't have a clue what my name is or what I look like. They
just know you as that's
they
funny.
Just know me as Fishing for Mortgages.
Yeah.
And so they'll see, like, I'll be out and about. Like I was in the grocery store the other day and I had Fishing for Mortgage, my sweatshirt on that says Fishing for Mortgages, and the guy was like, "Oh, I follow that guy on Instagram." I was like, "Hey, that guy's me."
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so
funny.
it's cool to meet somebody who actually follows me. On Instagram. But you'll see people at the boat ramp that still know me as Fishing for Mortgages, but don't have a clue what my name is. So
right.
Been in the business for going on 21 years now. I started out just banking, and then I kind of bled into the mortgage industry, and then turned over to strictly mortgages, and been doing that ever since.
Awesome, man. Well, that's exciting to hear. And if folks want to get up with you for mortgage questions, advice, or potentially doing a deal with you, what's the best way for them to contact you for that?
Yep. My first initial and then last name. So it's M and then Hosang, Hosang at twmortgage.com or 478-6122, area code 757. Or you can just hit me up on the magical grams of the Insta. And that's at Fishing for Mortgages, and send me a DM, and then we'll get you squared away.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll drop all those links in the show notes too. Before we move into our next segment, we do want to take a quick break and hear a few words from our awesome sponsors that make things like free mortgage advice, as well as fishing advice free for you guys each week. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's time we talked about catching some serious savings. Imagine harnessing the power of the sun to cut your energy bills and having a roof that's built to last. Convert Solar and Roofing specializes in top-notch solar installations and durable roofing solutions that stand up to the toughest elements. Their solar panels are designed to maximize efficiency, and their roofs are built with premium materials to ensure long-lasting protection. Whether you're out on the water or at home, their expert team ensures you're covered. As fellow anglers in the Lower Chesapeake Bay, the team at Convert Solar and Roofing cares about both sustainability sustainable living and sustainable fishing. So reel in those savings today and visit www.convert-solar.com or call 757-44-SOLAR. Make your energy and roof as reliable as your favorite fishing lure. Call Convert Solar and Roofing today. Tired of battling salt corrosion on your boat, trailer, and reels? Meet Salt's Gone, your ultimate solution. This powerful, instantly acting chelating agent tackles salt and brine with ease, featuring corrosion inhibitors to protect against future damage and surfactants for a thorough clean. Salt's Gone is pH neutral, making it safe for all boat materials, metal, glass, paint, vinyl wraps, and more. Highly concentrated, just 1 gallon creates 100 gallons of ready-to-use solution. Apply it with or without running water. It's perfect for any situation. Use code GREATDAYS10 to save 10% at saltsgone.com. Or if you need faster delivery, use Amazon or your favorite retailer.
All right, guys, welcome back. So I want to dive into your Costa Rica trip, but just in front of that, you and I were talking about, you're like, man, I really would love to just go get another bluefin tuna. So a couple of things that we had to do first was check the regulations, right? So we'll drop this link in the show notes too, but it is fisheries.noaa.gov. And then you go to the HMS recreational angling limits by permit. And then you get to the HMS angling permit. And we did the hard work for them, didn't we, Mike?
That's right.
Figuring out where to go and how to look this up. If you look into the actual compliance guide, it's page 8 that shows the different territories that apply. So where are we currently? If we want to go out of Virginia Beach and chase down a bluefin tuna and potentially harvest it, what are we legally allowed to do right now?
So 27 to 73 and 1 per day.
Got it. 1 per vessel per day. Okay, cool. And the trophy season is shut down because we are part of that Trophy South category.
Right.
Correct. Okay. It's good to know. That way we don't end up with a violation. Also, obviously, in terms of being sustainable and practicing that, we have to make sure we're always following the guidelines. But you got one on like the world's most ancient equipment. We talked about this on a recent show, trolling. You managed to do it, which was, incredible to me. What's the goal now? I'm looking on, Hilton's Real-Time Navigator to pull up a water shot. I'm going to just kind of dream out loud with you. Like, what are you thinking that you're going to do here in the next couple of weeks?
I'm going Tuna Junkies from Jersey, and I'm going straight spinning reel. I got a Daiwa 18,000 class reel.
Ooh.
I've got Nomad 100-pound raid, and
Okay.
I've got 150 fluoro.
Okay.
And I got a couple of NLBNs, some 8-inch NLBNs, and I've got the split ring with the swivel set up.
Okay.
And I'm just going to go out there and be a glutton for punishment, see if I can find them. Last week, a buddy of mine went down out of Hatteras. I want to say it was Good Times, maybe. I feel like it was Good Times in Hatteras. But I think they went 7 for 7 on bluefins, and that was a week ago. So they're still in Hatteras, and the weather's going to warm up, and I have a feeling they're going to migrate right back the same way they went down there.
I mean, it would make sense. I'm looking at the water shot for sea surface temperatures, and there are some interesting changes starting to shape up. I'm not a meteorologist or whatever a waterologist. Just made that
That's
up.
right.
Aquaologist.
Aquologist.
Yeah, aquologist. But I remember back when the bite was hot, I was starting to look on Hilton's and triangulate where we knew we were getting bites at and where there was consistent bait at. And you did start to see some patterns in terms of like the temperature breaks and what they were near. So I do see some interesting things shaping up that, it does make it seem reasonable that, what I'm seeing down out of Hatteras, you're seeing still those really hot pocket lines of the Gulf Stream up against that cold water, which is that line where they like to be. So, you might not be too far off to be kind of headed hard southeast. I mean, is that kind of what you're thinking? Head out and shoot southeast?
I would probably go out to the windmills and just head south.
Yeah.
They're about 30 miles out in Hatteras. They were about 30 miles out here. They were following the bait.
Yep.
I think with all of the windmills and the posts that are up out there, that's creating a whole new ecosystem. The bait's going to be coming and eating the algae, and everything else is going to be coming to eat the bait. So, that's just my opinion. I literally don't know jack squat about bluefin tuna fishing. For anybody that's out there listening.
other than just to go and try. But
This
that's
is my theory. This is my
that's
theory.
that's how we learn. I mean, you fail forward. It's interesting right now. So like right out of the mouth of the bay, you've got about 52-degree water out to, maybe a couple miles shy of the light tower, and then it actually drops and gets cooler down to like 47. And then it's not until you're out past, towards like the fingers, south of the fingers, does it get back up into the 50s. So we kind of have this like warm, cold, slightly less cold thing going on. So I'm going to keep an eye on this over the next, week to 2 weeks and see what starts to change. Because you almost imagine like the tuna are kind of like looking for a path, right? Like as they have to migrate back up. And obviously bait's going to be involved, but water temperature is going to play a big factor too. So we'll have to stay in communication to see if we can't put together and devise a plan of action that you can hopefully be successful with. I would love nothing more than to get a report that you ran around in the tower, saw one,
Let's go,
brought it in.
I would love nothing more than that myself. And the other thing is they were catching them inshore out of the Outer Banks. I mean, within 5 to 10 miles, they were running into them.
That's wild.
So, yeah. I got a feeling, and that was colder and super dirty water compared to 30 miles out of the Outer Banks, where it's you get into the bluish green clear water.
Right. And 30 miles out from Outer Banks is really like 60 miles out for us. If you look at a map, the tunas aren't necessarily going, oh, well, the coastline, so I need to start swimming in 30 miles, west before I swim north. They might just start swimming north. So it could be that we have to get creative in terms of where we look. But I'm excited to hear what happens, man. When do you think the next day is that you might try to shoot out there?
Who knows, man? We need Mom Nature to hook us up.
Yeah.
I won't go out. I want to, like tomorrow, for example, it's supposed to be really flat all day. That would be a great day to go, but I've got to work, of course. But if I'm going to go out on my boat, which is the goal, I want it to be really nice that day and at least somewhat nice the next day, because you know how it'll switch. I want a good 2-day window.
Yeah.
So that I know I'm not going to go out and get smoked while I'm out there with some crazy southeast winds. In the summertime, every day in the bay, if you're not in by 2:00,
boom,
you're getting it over the bow.
Southeast blow, and you're trying to head northwest to go home, or sorry, southeast to go home, and you're going right into it, getting it blown over the bow. So, all right, let's switch gears. I want to hear all about Costa Rica, man. So, like one of your most epic, iconic shots I can remember when I think about is you coming back to the surface with that gigantic, 150 plus pound tuna at your chest that you had just shot.
Yeah.
So you went back. When did you go to Costa Rica? How long were you there, and how many dives did you get to take?
We were there end of February, and we fly in on Sunday. So then we spearfish Monday and Tuesday. We take a day off, which is really not a day off. It's a day of like constant exploring, going around doing stuff. So you don't get any rest, which would actually be more beneficial. But you're in Costa Rica, you got to live it up. And then the fourth day is spearfishing. And then you basically pack everything up the best that you can, and you fly back on Friday.
Man, you got it all in. I mean, I'm seeing some incredible shots of, is that a giant whale shark?
That whale shark was from a previous trip.
Okay,
the reason I posted it is because a buddy of mine, Stan, that I went with at that time, who I got pre-dive certified with, hit me up when I posted a manta ray. So this manta ray was probably 10 to 12 foot wide.
Jeez, look at that thing.
Yeah, man, that was amazing. That thing swam around us and just kind of did circles and these like acrobatic loops for about 6 or 7 minutes.
Wow.
And we got, I had just shot what they call a guacamayo snapper, which is very similar to the ARS here. Probably a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
Almost looks more like a goldfish, like a gigantic goldfish, or what are those ones that you keep in your pond? What do they call those?
Oh, koi fish.
Yeah, koi fish. Yeah, it looks like one of those, basically.
Yeah.
But it's got the same build as a red snapper, and they're absolutely delicious. So I just shot one of those and tossed it in the boat, and then I come back and my buddy Garrett takes a dive and he shoots one, and I'm kind of looking around and he's coming up with his fish, and my buddy Sean and I turn around and this thing is just kind of cruising. So I take a dive and the thing came right directly at me.
Oh, that's amazing. That is absolutely
it's
amazing.
Awesome. I call Costa Rica the Jurassic Park of the underwater world, because it's just, you never know what's going to show up. It's amazing.
Right. There's like no limitations to it. I mean, and then when you look on that manta ray, so I'm looking at the picture on either side, almost in perfect symmetry, are what is holding on to the manta ray? It looks like two fish.
Yeah, it's like two remoras, but it's like the weirdest looking remoras I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I tried to.
They have broom tails, almost like a cobia.
Yeah, yeah. So remoras are in the cobia family.
Okay.
But those things look prehistoric.
They do. They've got that giant dorsal fin, like down, like in their mid back, like almost between their mid back and their tail. That's a really cool looking creature, man.
Yeah, those things both were probably 40 pounds each.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
that's wild. I mean, that picture right there. I mean, obviously here in the Bay, we sometimes see the large, like spotted eagle rays with the cobia swimming on their back. It takes me back to one of my favorite memories from August. I think it was 2023. My buddy Dave Burnham and his son Luke Burnham were with me for a trip, and we were up in kind of like the no man's land up, north of the Fourth Island Bridge, kind of just south of where the anchored ships are. And we're fishing, and there's this pod of like 90 cobia, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. But what we couldn't figure out is why every time we would catch one and pull it out, the cobias wouldn't go anywhere. Sure enough, it was because they were hanging out on top of this giant, like 8-9 foot spotted eagle ray. And one of the times that we got close and we're about to cast, something irritated the ray, or something made it decide to do its thing, where it jumped straight up out of the water and uncurled its wings. And when it did, it like a flicked booger shot like a 30-pound cobia like 20 feet, laterally.
Oh, I love it.
It was so cool. I mean, we just all looked at each other just in disbelief, like, we're like, what did we just witness? It was like the most National Geographic thing I've ever seen. But
it's awesome how cobias would just, no matter what's happening, they stay on that host, if you will.
Yep. They're either very smart to stay with the host, or they're just very dumb that they just decide like, oh, there's something going on, I should hang out with it. But it's really cool to see. So what else did you guys shoot while you were down there?
Yeah. So first day is let's just go see what the weather looks like. We knew the second day was going to be supposed to be really, really nice, but we had already gotten some good reports of the yellowfin tuna hanging around. So we were like, all right, we'll head that way. And, if it's crappy, and the wind was supposed to be a little high, but we're talking about Costa Rica, where it's normally really good temperatures, low winds anyways. But it was really, really windy that day. It was probably 15 to 18. And we're on a, I think, 25-foot panga.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, you're definitely getting wet in that. And it was probably 3 to 4 foot. And it's a full send. You're going 35 to 40 miles launching off the beach when you're going to look for the tuna.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we decided, all right, let's just hit the reefs today. Yeah. And then the first day was trophy hunting day. We probably should have been the other way around. You always maybe use the last day for trophy hunting.
Yeah.
Because if you trophy hunt the first day and then the last day is a bust, then you wasted all that time, because the first day you're passing by 20 to 30 pound Cubera snappers looking for that like 80 to 90 pounder. And the same with Almaco jacks. That was, I've lost 3 sets of spears and slip tips, which is a tip that kind of pops off the front of the spear and it's held onto that spear with a cable. Yeah. And so once the shaft goes through the fish, the tip pops off and toggles, and that way it can't come back through the fish.
Yeah.
So what happens, your spear comes out of the fish, and then that cable is through the middle of the fish. Yeah. And then the tip is toggled on the outside, on the opposite side. And what that does, it prevents the tear outs. It prevents the shaft from getting bent, because these Cuberas, as soon as you shoot them, if you don't kill it, they go into the caves, and whatever's on them, when you shoot them, that spear's on, they don't know what the heck that is.
Right.
So they're doing everything they can do. Yeah, they're doing everything they can do to get what's on them off of them. And so they're hitting every reef edge, every cave that they can get to. And, a spear shaft, a good one that you're shooting big fish with, is going to be $120, $130.
Yeah, I don't want to lose that.
Yeah. And the slip tip is another, $80 to $100. So
Wow.
just the shaft and the slip tip, you're looking at a 200 plus setup. And so you want to try to prevent them from bending the shaft at the very least. Because if the shaft just goes through and it just has a barb at the end, then the shaft's not going to come back through.
Right.
And so whatever they start smashing up against, they're bending that. And an 80-pound cobera snapper, pound for pound. I mean, think about how strong a cobia is.
Yeah.
You would probably double or triple that strength with a cobera snapper.
Oh, wow.
They're
That's pretty remarkable.
absolute monsters.
Yeah. And then in terms of like your equipment and gear, everything that you use here in the Chesapeake Bay pretty much,
No, that doesn't translate at all. Yeah. So in the Bay, I use two different guns. When the cobia are running like on the structure late August, then I switch over to my bigger gun. So my primary gun during the Bay, during the early season, I'm just shooting sheep's heads and togs and stuff like that. I built a smaller Rob Allen gun. It's got two bands, the 7mm shaft, smaller setup. But when I know the cobia are really going to be around structure, I don't want to lose it, and I know I want. It's probably overkill anyways, but it's very rare that I lose a fish unless I have a bonehead mistake like the day you saw me.
I wasn't going to say it.
Oh man, unbelievable.
Tell our listeners what happened. So I see you in the water. You've just shot a monster, and
it's the biggest one I've ever shot.
Oh God, of course it is. And then you're like swimming around, and I'm like, "Do you need help? What's going on?" And then so what actually happened there?
Yeah, so obviously you want to try to get a good kill shot on any fish that you shoot. So pec fin usually is near where the spine is. So if you can get right at or just barely above the pec fin, especially towards the head, and especially on a big long fish like a cobia, you want to get it towards the head anyway. So that way you can direct it where it's going.
Yeah.
Especially like if you're on the bridge and there's a lot of current.
Yeah.
If you're in the rocks, it's not so bad because if you're on the lee side of the island, you're all right. It's not terrible. But that current on that bridge can get serious, and it can change in a hurry. You could be in there in slack and shoot a big fish, and then the current picks up, and now you're struggling against that thing. But yeah, anyways, bottom line, mid-body shot because it saw me first. It came around the pole, kind of did a loop underneath me. And it was moving fast. I couldn't swing my gun around fast enough to get a noggin shot. And man, body shot on that thing. It took off back around the pole, so I had to swim around the pole after it. And then it did a figure 8 around the next two, and that's when I saw you.
Yeah.
So I finally got it off from around the pole after I swam through the poles 3 times. I mean, I might as well have been a pole dancer. But I finally got it out in between the bridges, and then it was just beating me up. I mean, I would get it close to the surface, and it would take back off. And so we'll pause there. Prior to that, I had shot a nice, probably 11 or 12 pound sheep's head. When I take the fish back to the boat, as long as there's not too much current, typically what I do is I put a knife in the fish to kill it, kill it as fast as possible. Then I bleed it and I gut it. And so it's a clean fish going over the gunnel.
Right.
And I don't get back in the boat. I just unclip my spear from the gun. And it's just got a small tuna clip. And I unclip it, and they take it off of the line that's connected to my spear. And then once they get the fish, I put it back together.
Right.
Well, hardcore rookie mistake. I did not clip that back on.
Now, did you when you say clip back on, meaning like you didn't close the clip?
I didn't close the clip.
So it was attached. It just wasn't closed.
Correct.
So it'd be like an open safety pin, and you're hoping it's holding your blouse together. You're gonna be in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah, and my blouse opened right up. So after probably 5 times getting it back to the surface, I was like, well, you know what? I'm just going to grab the spear, and once I get him back up towards me, because when you shoot a body shot and you're that close range, the spear actually went all the way through the fish.
Right.
But but it was a low shot. So, and it was like mid body. So it was like just past where the stomach would be. So the good thing is of it all, it's a survivable shot, so that fish probably went on to live to keep rolling. And fish are remarkably durable. Anyhow,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, in my head, I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just grab the spear. Next time I get near, I'm going to grab the spear, take the gun and the spear, and just have them horse it in at the boat. So when I grab the spear, it takes off again. And I guess the angle of when it took off, it came straight down the shooting line.
No.
And
Popped
then
it right out.
Popped it right out. And the line went limp. And that's when you might have heard a couple of choice words come out of my mouth.
I didn't know if you were drowning or calling out to God for help or what the deal was, but there was a lot of loud words being said in that moment. I'll never forget. But so essentially the fish just like you grabbed the spear and then that line was going through the fish and it basically just swam off the line. The line just completely left its body. Yeah, it's like a needle coming unthreaded almost.
Correct. Yep, it came right off that cliff and she gone.
I can bet you that will never happen again.
Never happen again. That's the first time it ever happened.
Jeez, that's tough, man.
Because the reason I got back there so fast is because I set over. There was a guy rod and reeling. And he had just pulled a nice fish off the set prior.
Yeah.
And then he dipped out. So I was like, well, usually where there's one, there's more.
Right.
And that's what happened. So I went over and sure enough, there was probably 5 or 6 kind of tails, like in the eddy. And I took a shallow dive, probably about 15 feet. And I mean, my eyes got bug-eyed. It was just, it's the fattest head I had seen underwater ever. And I was like, man. So my biggest one I've shot was 62 pounds 2 or 3 years ago. This one for sure was a 70-pound fish.
Golly.
Just absolute.
Hence the reason the tussle was so tough, because you had that mid-body shot. And a minute ago when you said that, I was trying to visualize like, okay, why is it important to shoot it up towards like the peck and the head? It's the same reason that you want a hook in the mouth and not in the body, or like foul hooked. They're so much harder to fight when they're foul hooked.
Oh yeah, so it's exact same thing.
You're not able to guide the head. They're able to use both regular swimming power plus potentially the current against you. And, obviously you're not made to be in water. So you're out of your element trying to control an animal that's in its element. So you got to take every measure you can to get some sort of an upper hand advantage of it.
Yeah. And the shooting line is 400-pound mono, but it might as well be, paper compared to all the barnacles and oysters along the bridge. So that's why I'm like frantically, once I shot it and start swimming around the pole, a smaller fish, you just let it get wrapped around the pole, especially if you got a headshot. Because on a headshot, if it gets wrapped around the pole, it's just kind of swimming and banking its head against the pole once the wrap kind of ends.
Yeah.
And then you dive down there, kill the fish while it's stuck where it is.
Yeah.
But this one already took line off of my reel on my reel gun, and then was wrapping itself around, and it was still pulling line through the barnacles and the oysters and stuff. So you let that happen one too many times. Oh yeah, it'll snap that line, and then all your stuff is gone. So.
Man,
yeah,
times.
Swimming like Michael Phelps around those corners.
Wild times underwater. I want to take one more quick break, and then when we come back, I want to do a quick kind of safety debrief on all the things that we need to be thinking of, because now is kind of the time. Like if we want to get geared up and ready to spearfish, this spring, summer, now would be the time to start prepping, getting the gear, etc. So we're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with you to talk safety.
Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. Looking to protect your dock with materials built to last? Shoreline Plastics has you covered. As leaders in composite marine dock pilings and building materials, they engineer solutions that stand the test of time. Their EcoPile is the ultimate composite piling, designed for longevity and eco-friendliness, ensuring your dock remains strong for years. And if you need a quick fix for worn pilings, try Snap Jacket, a durable solution that restores and extends their life. Visit ShorelinePlastics.com to discover how you can elevate your next marine project. Shoreline Plastics, where durability meets innovation.
All right. So give us a quick, rundown here. We're talking safety. So you posted something the other day on Facebook that I thought was really meaningful. It caught my eye. Saddens me saddens me a great deal when I hear friends of friends not making it home. And just like the last, segment we were talking about, a simple mistake forgetting to clip something together cost a fish. Well, there's other simple mistakes that could potentially cost a life. So in terms of safety gear for any sort of diving, whether it's free diving or scuba, but most of what goes on around here is free diving. What are some of those big safety items we need to make sure we do right every single time so that everybody comes home?
Yeah. Number one priority is always have a captain in the boat running the boat. If you're off of the boat and something happens, you're stuck in the water trying to help a friend, and it's just you just by yourself.
Right.
But if you have two people in the water and you have a third person in the boat, that's your ideal situation. Does it happen all the time? Absolutely not. And so then, if it's just you and one person in the water, you don't want to push your limits, especially in the bay, because once you go down past 10 feet, you can't see your dive buddy at all. So then it's just you just keeping an eye on, okay, they dove down in this section. Let me keep an eye on this section. And also the currents are different. So you have surface current, and then you have the current underwater. And then you have the eddies also behind the poles if you're on the bridge. So if you're on the bridge and you swim down an eddy, if you deviate off that eddy, sometimes you get blown off that set. And now if you got a dive buddy looking for you, you're, past the bridge and he's still on the opposite side of the pole trying to figure out where you are. So, yeah, obviously just having people that are on your boat that are aware, number one priority. And then number two, the biggest dive flag you can fit on your boat without it being like in the way or getting caught in your prop.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Just be seen.
Yeah.
Be seen. I mean, that's the number one thing I see, especially in our bay, is people not being near their boat and people not being seen and people not paying attention. That's the biggest thing. Because when you're, especially like cobia time frame where people are on the bridge a lot more, man, the guys that are in their towers, they're not really expecting to see a diver around a set of pilings,
Right.
They're looking for fish and they're looking straight down at the set they're passing. And then as soon as they pass, I said they look up ahead to see. And by that time, if you got a diver that got swept out, from the current, or they're fighting a fish, not paying attention to any boats, you got to have your boat there with a big old dive flag protecting you, making sure that other boats see what's happening.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. It's been several times that the guy with me, because I'm looking down at a set of pilings and maybe he's looking at the next set, he'll see the diver well before I did. And imagine if I was by myself or the dive flag was small, the scene starts to set up for a potential accident to happen. I also saw in your picture, the type of vest that you wear. So maybe tell us a little bit about this safety vest that you wear.
Yeah, so that safety vest, and it goes along to me in my head. It's like the same sort of thing as bike helmets. Back in the day, you just weren't cool if you wore a bike helmet.
Right.
But now you got every amazing X gamer and Red Bull guy, and everybody on the sun wears a helmet now because they realize this actually makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's happening right now because it's new. I've been wearing this dive vest for 5 years now. Once I discovered it was available, I bought it immediately because it makes sense. And so what it does is, there's 4 primary components. The first component is a ripcord. So if you're at depth, so like back to Costa Rica, the second day that we went out, we're looking for yellowfin tunas, and number one priority is get fish in the boat. So the first drop, any tuna that we see, we're going to shoot them. That way we got meat in the box. And then from that point forward, we're just going to dive, let the little ones swim by, look for some giants.
Right.
And so, but the first one I shot was probably 50, 60 pounds, not a monster by any means. And of course, after you shoot that one, the 150 pounders swim by. Yeah. But, even a 50-pound tuna, if it comes up at you and just does one loop around you and that line cinches around your leg, if it takes a dive, you're going with it, and you have absolutely no recourse. So this dive vest has a ripcord on it, and it's got a 90-gram CO2 in it. And if I get in trouble at depth and I need to come up, I drop my weight belt immediately. I pull that ripcord, and it blows up into a flotation device, and brings me up to the surface. And the most important piece of this vest is whenever it blows up and brings you to the surface, it brings you face up, so that your airway is open.
So even if you were to go unconscious, it would still bring you up face up, so you'd be able to survive. So man, those are 3 great tips. Obviously have a captain in your boat always. Biggest dive flag you can possibly have, and then that safety vest. And between those 3 things, you're probably, I would imagine, moving the needle of survivability of a free dive trip considerably in the right direction to stay alive each and every time.
And I say that the dive vest does not take place of a dive buddy.
That's a good point.
It's an addition to.
Right.
And so the one component is I'll blast these off pretty quickly, but the one component is the ripcord. So that's your manual. So if you're conscious enough to know you're in trouble, okay, pull that. Then you have a depth. So if you have a set depth and you go past that depth, it automatically deploys. You also have a set time. So if you go past that time, it automatically deploys regardless of depth. They're separate from each other. And then you also have a shallow water blackout option also. So once you surface, or if you're within your set depth of the surface. So for me, I have it, if I'm between 10 and 0 feet, that recognizes that I'm near the surface. But if I start to sink back down after I get to that point, it recognizes that I should be back on the surface. So it recognizes the pressure past 10 feet, and it realizes that I went back down too soon, and it deploys.
Got it. So it's really a multi, what's the right word?
It's a dynamic vest.
Dynamic life-saving device in terms of all the different areas where it closes the gap for you to make sure that you survive if a scenario happens that would be out of your control, whether that's blackout, getting dragged by a fish, sucked up in a current, whatever, you name it. Man, I feel like I've learned a lot. Every time I talk to you about diving, I always pick up another little granule. And we talked about it before we decided to record today, but I am committed. This is the year that we get on a boat together and shoot a cobia. And I don't think we talk about it just yet, but we've got something up our sleeve that we think that the fishing community is going to just love. Because unless you hate food and hate a good time, this would be perfect for you. That's all we're going to say about it for now.
That's it. We'll go one step further, and we'll say, if you like fish tacos, you're going to want to pay attention to the future podcast.
There we go. Fish taco talk. It is Taco Tuesday. At least we're recording on Taco Tuesday. But anyway, man, thanks for hopping on and chatting with us and sharing your knowledge with the listeners, sharing your trip, sharing about the mortgage business and what's going on there. We'll look forward to a future show and diving deeper into this fish taco teaser that we're talking about. So if folks want to get up with you again, remind us of the best way to contact you, whether it's to pick your brain on diving or mortgages. What's the best way?
Yeah, fishingformortgages.com. That's the easiest way. Fishingformortgages.com. Hit me up, or you can call me 757-478-6122. And don't forget, man, you and Austin both are shooting. You're shooting a fish with me this year.
Deal.
You both bailed. Every time I tried, it's like, oh well, no more.
Yep.
We're gonna get you in the shark infested, can't see the shark's water.
Yeah, we're gonna make Austin face his fears. He's very, very not afraid of sharks as long as he's standing in a boat. Be curious to see how he is when he's in the water with one. But jokes aside, Mike, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being on the show. Look forward to talking to you real soon.
All right, see you, bud.
All right, man. Folks, that wraps up a really cool segment learning about safety. If you're going to free dive, take Mike's words to heart. It could literally save a life or a friend of yours' life. So y'all stick around for a few more words from our sponsors, and we'll be back next week, and look forward to talking to you then.
Would your insurance cover an air ambulance in a medical emergency? The fact is, insurance doesn't cover the full cost of medical flights, leaving you and your loved ones at financial risk. But with an Air Medcare network membership, you can focus on recovery, not on finances, should the unexpected happen. They take care of everything, with no costs for flights, only when flown by one of their providers. Membership covers your full household and starts at $99 a year. Visit gdo.deals/airmedcare to enroll. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free APCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.